Home Secretary's plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda doesn't withstand the judgment of God. That's according to the Archbishop of Canterbury, Welby. In his Easter sermon, he accused the government of subcontracting out its responsibilities. And he wasn't the only religious leader to mention the immigration policy today, as more details emerged about the doubts within the civil service about the plan. Jane Deeth reports.
The government wants to send people who come to the UK this way to Rwanda to apply to settle there instead. The plan has provoked perhaps the most outspoken intervention yet from the head of the Church of England, Justin Welby.
The principle must stand the judgment of God, and it cannot. Subcontracting out our responsibilities, even to a country that seeks to do well, like Rwanda, is the opposite of the nature of God.
But a Conservative MP who backs the Rwanda plan in principle accused the Archbishop of Canterbury of sharpening political divisions.
I think it's a pity that an Easter message, the one time when the Archbishop has the attention of many more people in the country, is used for a bit of domestic divisive politics rather than for a much greater message to tell us the joy of the resurrection, the joy of Easter Sunday, and to make that relevant to the wars and crime scenes of the world.
The Church of Scotland also weighed in on immigration policy.
We remember that Jesus said, when I was a stranger, you welcomed me. That should be our guiding light, and that's not what this policy does.
But should religion become political like this?
The issues we're dealing with, of course they're political. I would emphasise the fact they're not party political. But I think if you do believe, as Christians do, that each and every one of us, refugee, non-refugee, is made in the image of God, then there are certain ways in which you ought to treat and respect and value that individual.
Last night, the Home Office published letters between the Home Secretary and her top civil servant, Matthew Rycroft, focused on the cost of offshoring the UK's asylum system. Rycroft says Priti Patel's policy is proper and feasible, but warns, as her accounting officer, he doesn't believe sufficient evidence can be obtained to demonstrate the deterrent effect will be enough to make it value for money. Priti Patel replies that without action, costs will continue to rise, lives will continue to be lost, and there are safeguards in the agreement to protect taxpayer funding. And she says there are invest to save arguments in the long term. She instructs Rycroft to continue work on the policy. Priti Patel says it's the best way to stop smugglers putting migrants' lives at risk. But there are plenty who'll try to stop her putting the plan into action.